Hey guys, it's James Walsh, your master of ceremonies here at the Wrestling Epicenter. Before we get started, of course, I want to dedicate the latest episode of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com to the memory of Daphne. We interviewed Daphne in 2006. In fact, it was an interview that my wife helped us get, so she meant something to us around here, and that was a hard pill to swallow. So this episode is in tribute to Daphne Unger. Anyway, let's on a lighter note, the good news of the week. Something cool that happened was I got an email in from former Nitro girl Chae, and Chae has a new product line coming out. She's working on some bags, some organizational products that I think people will enjoy, and because she wants to promote this to reach her Kickstarter goal and felt that it's been long enough, 20 years since the Nitro Girls were a thing, that nostalgia would speak to doing a podcast like ours, she agreed to do an interview. So be sure and check out her Kickstarter campaign. It's called Ring Along, and I hope you guys enjoy this brand new September 3rd, 2021 interview with Chae of the Nitro Girls. Enjoy, guys. And again, this one's for Daphne.
This is Nitro Girl Chae, and you are listening to the one and only Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. If you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter. Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining us on the Newsmaker line is our third Nitro girl in our 20-year history. She is Chae. How you doing, Miss Chae?
I am doing great. And how are you?
I'm doing awesome. It's such a pleasure to have you on. I got to tell you, in a week that's been kind of a bad week, your email was one of the highlights. So it's been great hearing from you.
I know. It's just so unfortunate. Charmel, all of us are still very, very close. So Charmel texted both Melissa and I together, and that's first I heard of it. It is just heartbreaking and so unfortunate. And my heart just goes out to her family and Shannon. Of
course, we're talking about Daphne for those listening at home. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see here. So I mentioned 20 years, and 20 years has a big number for you, too, because it's been about 20 years, just a little over, since you were a part of the Nitro Girls Club, since you were on TNT programming. Are you surprised by all the nostalgia and how much people look back at those days and still love Nitro and the Nitro Girls?
You know what? It is really interesting because, I've done shows here and there with Melissa once in a while, but the most recent was probably, I want to say 2-3 years ago up in New York. And I think that's the first time when somebody actually said, "Oh, you were like part of my childhood." Uh-huh. And I went, "Oh my gosh, you're right." So I think 20 years is a good mark. Because look at Friends. I mean, there's a reason why they wait 20 years for their reunion. And I think 20 years is a good mark because if you think back, our really good fans in college or even high school, it's so nostalgic. I'm sure they can reflect on such a carefree and fun times of their lives, especially after doing adulting for as long as they have since. It's just very nostalgic to want to go back and reflect on those carefree fun times and us being part of it.
Very cool. Before you got involved in professional wrestling, did you ever watch it? Were you aware of, wrestling and how big it was at that point?
I had no idea. And of course, everybody knows of Hulk Hogan. So I came to the U.S. when I was 11 years old, and I want to say like my wrestling somehow reached Korea even way back when. And I want to say that that um, that my grandpa used to somehow watch Hulk Hogan. So we knew Hulk Hogan even in Korea back then. But a friend of mine, he was a manager, and his girlfriend was bartender at this sports club in Savannah where I used to live. And right after I got the job, I came back to visit them, and they said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, I just got a job with this wrestling company. I think they have some kind of a Monday night show, something about Nitro. And they just about fell over. They're like, "Monday Night Nitro?" And I'm like, yeah, what is that? Because apparently they had huge parties at their sports bar
Yes.
every Monday for it.
In fact, that's something you guys went to. There was always those vignettes where they shot you guys going to the Nitro parties at the college campuses and all that. I got to ask you, it's a weird question, but what was it like doing those and having all these college guys being, the pretty girls from the wrestling show around all these college guys?
But you know what? Here's the thing. I think at the time I didn't really know, but as I get older and as kind of reflect on my life, so I grew up with two older brothers, and I was a tomboy because I had to, because I didn't have anyone to really play with. So one of the things my brothers really loved doing was they would trap me in a blanket. They would pull the corners of all the blankets where I would look up and I would just see this like a round, like air hole, and they would take turns and fart in it.
Dutch ovens.
So yeah, so that's how I grew up. So I think like being around guys, it was just for me, at least for me, it's a very natural thing. Hanging out with them was a very natural thing, and I could, get as unladylike as I could, with best of them. So for me, it was just any other day, back home, hanging out with my brothers.
That's awesome. Now, I read in your bio, and of course, Wikipedia is not always accurate, but it says you were a Atlanta Falcons cheerleader. Was there much of a difference between being on the sidelines for an NFL game than having wrestling fans, screaming and yelling at you? Was there much of a difference?
No, the crowd is about the same, and we have to be realistic. We're there to entertain, and so with the Falcons, what they do is, so there are four corners where the cheerleaders stood and cheered, and so every line, what they do is that they make sure that they have blondes, brunettes, long hair, short hair. They just kind of really try to, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of so hard to explain it these days and times because I don't want to be, it's so tough these days because, it really is. I mean, it's kind of like, Baskin-Robbins 21 flavor kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how Nitro was. But for what Nitro was, it was a lot more intimate and a lot more personalized. Because there was a lot smaller number of us. And, but as far as entertaining, it was really, it's the same, it's bringing up the energy and keeping the energy level up. But it was really nice that with Nitro that we were able to, showcase our differences, our individuality. And, even with outfits, we kind of, fell into our own styles. It's not like cookie cutter uniform, same routine, things like that. So yeah, it was good and different, but both just amazing life opportunity that I just really cherish.
Awesome. Now, I will admit that I posted on my personal Facebook that I was going to be having you on, and unfortunately, the first question I got was one I knew was going to be the first question I'd get, was somebody saying, "You got to ask her about the wardrobe malfunction."
Right.
Yeah, I gotta
Right.
say, mind if I ask you, did you get in trouble for that? And how was it? Was it something you were embarrassed by? What was that experience like for you?
Well, so again, we were pretty new to the program, so they
Mhm.
were trying to work us in, and things. Even though the right hand sometimes didn't talk to the left hand, so even though right hand might thought that this is when we go on, and the left hand said, "Oh no," they weren't really thinking. So my costume that I designed, with those straps
Mhm.
back and forth, it can be very restrictive. So we were ready to go out of the tunnel, and then they said, "Okay, not this one, it's the next one." I'm like, "Okay." So I loosened it because I tied it too tight. And of course, it was like something happened last minute where they wanted us on immediately. So I totally forgot that I had loosened my top. So I ran out there and I'm dancing, and I heard this huge pop. And as because you're dancing, because your one part of the brain is focusing on the routine, and then the other part is like thinking. It's almost like two people in one trying to figure out what is going on, right?
Mhm.
And then I did feel, breeze, and like a better way of saying it. But I wasn't sure because it didn't. It's not like it stayed out, but I think I don't know. I think it just maybe worked itself back in. Because it's not like I looked down and it,
Yeah.
yeah, it was still out. But anyway, so I went back into the dressing room and I was kind of like, did it? Did it not? Did it not? What was that? What was it? I have no idea. So, and I'm sitting in the dressing room, and all the girls were so excited because they thought that it was like the biggest pop they had up until that point, ever since we debuted.
Uh huh.
Even if I was saying, "Oh my gosh, did you hear such a pop?" I mean, it was such awesome, whatever. And then I'm just sitting there, like, still trying to decide. And I saw Janie Engel walk into the dressing
Uh
room. She turned the corner. She looked at me. Our eyes met, and I said, "Did it?" And she just nodded her head really slowly. And I went, but everybody knows me, and I am the least person that you would think, because there was a lot of times people thought, okay, DDP put her up to it.
Ah.
Because DDP wanted the Nitro Girls to be over to help Kimberly, so DD put her up to it. I'm like, okay, I would be the last person that would have like volunteered, and they would have. Knowing my personality, I would have been the last person they would have like suggested that we voluntarily do. Not that they would, but yeah. So it was horrifying, and it's still out there. Which now my next dilemma is how long can I keep my boys? Because I have soon to be 11 and the 8-year-old boys. I mean, will they ever come across?
Yeah, I know. It's such a shame that that's what somebody asked first, but I knew it was going to happen. When I
Oh,
posted, I
it is.
just knew it. I just knew it.
You know what? I am just like, I think like, I sometimes think like boys too. So I'm like, oh yeah, I would ask that question if I was a boy. I was a man, and it really was. It's stood the test of time, and you can still find it on the internet. So that says that says a lot about it.
Very cool. All right. Well, I promise we will circle all the way around to the reason we have you on. But before we do, I
I am
did
not
say,
worried.
yeah, right. I did say we had on a few Nitro Girls before. Those were Kimberly and Spice. And I
Hmm.
remember vividly something Spice told me, and I wanted to ask you about it. She detested, she really did not like your swimsuit special, the one that they released on video and aired on pay per view. She said it was totally not what it was originally supposed to be, and that, she was not really proud of the final product of it. What did you think of the final product of it?
I know exactly what she's talking about. Did she explain what she meant by that,
Hmm.
or that's all she said? So initially, whoever was in charge of producing or creating the video, they really wanted to keep it really light and not just really kind of make it more girl next door kind of a thing, and not sprinkle too much of, like a better way of saying it, like sex into the production.
Mm-hmm.
So before, what we did was the production crew or the director or producer had myself, Melissa, and Ricky Rackman
Mm-hmm.
in the same house where that final product was filmed. Three of us, went there and we did the bumpers and all that in and out of the video. It was really fun. It was really lighthearted. It was, I remember the very end was, Ricky is standing next to the pool, and both Melissa and I are kind of like standing next to him. And Ricky said, I just have one question. And we said, what? And he goes, how do you get natural girls wet?
Uh-huh.
And we, Melissa and I looked at each other and go, how? And he pushed us in to the pool. And I mean, like we were like spread eagle falling backwards. We had, we're just fully clothed. So that was the end of the video. And it was so fun. We joked around, we reminisced, and it was just three friends kind of hanging out. But there were certain people that didn't like the two of us being highlighted. And they thought that, and also, I mean, and I get it, and they thought that everybody should participate in the whole video. And it just became, and I don't know who was in charge of actually kind of writing the scenes in between, but it just, I mean, everything down to just sitting there all like on the edges of the pool with our tea bags, things like that. It's just not what Melissa and I, especially was hard too, because we knew the final product, what it was and how fun and lighthearted and entertaining it was. And for it to just turn for a little bit of too much of something, it was, it was disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, as a college kid at the time, I loved it, but I would love to have seen the original. I would have loved to have seen the original.
No, but, I mean, there was plenty. I mean, there was plenty shots. I mean, we had amazing locations and amazing girls and wardrobe. So there was plenty there. But in between, it was just more very, lighthearted, and it was just very family oriented. And I mean, it's something that, I mean, I think you could have watched no problem with your even middle school boys. But
Awesome.
I think the very end, it just kind of became, I don't know, it's just definitely became, college, I thought.
I think so. You're right. Yeah. What did you think of when Vince Russo came in and he started having Spice do matches, and you guys were kind of more of a feature, but more of a physical role, and maybe that's not really what you were brought in to do? What did you think of that involvement in WCW?
Okay, so that was a very hard time. I know personally for me, I was very conflicted because I know I did not want to transition into that. I knew what I wanted to do, and that's, and dance and entertain. And, but at the same time, what overrode that was the job insecurity,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you don't, if you don't do what the writers tell you to do, are you going to have job security or not? And so I know I don't know that much about business, about the industry.
Uh-huh.
And obviously I didn't even know what it was before I got the job. So I can't really, if my opinion really isn't valid on the decision making of Vince coming in. But I just thought I really loved the fact that we were the umbrella under the same umbrella of Turner Sports and TNA. And what we were always stressed on was it's family entertainment. It's a family show. And I know there's some certain things that we couldn't do that they could do up in New York. And I took pride in that. I took pride in that my younger nephews could watch it, and I didn't really have to worry about the content or, telling my, cousin, oh, you probably shouldn't let your kid watch it tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So it was tough. And, I was very fortunate that a very good, solid figure in the business told them that Chae's bag would never hit the mat. And I want to say that I was the only at one point all the girls had transitioned out, and I was only original Nitro girl among a group of new ones. So,
do you mind if I ask who that was that said you wouldn't hit the mat?
that was Kevin.
Ah, Kevin Nash. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, we don't have to go down that road. That's cool.
No, it's fine. So it's just, it's really, I mean, just, solid, I mean, great friendship. And he just had my best interest at heart and just said, her back will never hit the mat. And that's all that needed to be said. And from there, and then I knew because of that, that, I kind of took a sigh of relief when it came to job security, because I did not want to go down that road.
Very cool. When you Google your name on you, well, I guess you search your name on YouTube, the clips from you in Ready to Rumble come up, and wanted to ask you what that experience was like to being part of a Hollywood film.
Oh, it was absolutely amazing. We based out of LA for about a month. So every time in between shows, I mean, that was like our home. So after every show, instead of being flown home, we got flown to LA, and we all stayed at the same hotel. We kept the room the whole time, same room for a month. And it was so much fun. Just another experience, I mean, I have so many cherries on top of my sundae. I mean, you're lucky if you get one cherry on top. I have so many cherries, and that experience being there for, I want to say maybe it took a month and a half of us in and out. Actually, it was more than a month, so a month and a half. That was definitely a big cherry on top. Just so much time together and experiencing really what goes behind the scene in Hollywood production.
Awesome. So I guess the simple question is, what made you decide, or what forced you to leave WCW in 2000?
Well, it was, so March 2001. We didn't have a choice.
You were there till the
right?
end. You was there till it closed?
Yes.
Wow.
I was, again, Nitro Girls existed up to the very, very last show in Panama City in March 2001.
Oh, wow.
So, from there.
Oh, I know that. I mean, you got Baby and Cinnamon and all the other ones that came in, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, obviously Vince didn't believe in the concept. I don't know if it's because he didn't believe in it or he didn't want to give Eric credit, or, I don't know. That's really not, my place to make the assumption. But so we were not extended an opportunity to continue on. So from there, as you know, we, the group of us, we did not want to let each other go. We're like, no, it's like cutting the umbilical cord too quick. And we've been together for so long on day-to-day basis, where we spend more time together than with our own family members and husbands, so and boyfriends. So we, and we were approached by a local producer in Atlanta about maybe forming a music group. So we went down that road for a couple of years. And then after that, I think that's when we realized, you know what, I think maybe we should just kind of try to see if we can stand on my own, because we were like all clumped together, leaning on each other. So after a while, you're like, okay, can I stand on my own? I don't know. I don't want to. But after with music, we realized, okay, I think it's time that we just let each other just fly and see where we go. And I have to say, each and every one of the girls just are so successful and accomplish so much since.
Awesome. How do you guys get along now, years later?
We get along amazing. So, I always say that. So with any kind of with people in your life, right? It's family or friends. And family is by choice. You got to hate to love them and love to hate them, right? And or love to love them too. But with friends, it's by choice. So if you don't get along, and if you don't like a person for one way or the other, you don't have to be around them anymore. But with us, it was a unique situation, because even though you didn't like the person, or you didn't have the same values or whatever it was, or they were, they had this little quirkiness that you just couldn't stand, we but we had to learn to figure it out and learn to accept, not only accept, but respect each other for differences. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so for us, it's such a rare incident where we just honestly just really bonded even beyond, and accepting others for our differences, especially these days. It's not an easy thing to do, and that's something that we did because we had to, and everybody kind of understood each other and accepted each other's differences. So that kind of bond carries through, I think, not even just one lifetime. I mean, it's enough bond to carry you through 2, 3 lifetimes. So even though we may not talk to each other, even on an yearly basis, you know, some, like Vanessa, she, several years ago, she came, we found out she had breast cancer. So those kind of things, we all came together, and we were there for her. And then, and it's just one of those things that no news isn't bad news. No news is that, oh, you know what, I'm there if you need me, but I do know that you have your life and you understand that I have my life, kind of a thing. So it's even a closer bond than family bond.
Awesome. Second to last question. Well, maybe not, but we're going to start heading into the reason for the interview right after this question. What do you think of the women of wrestling today, where I know you had no desire to be a wrestler, but now when you turn on the show, there is 2 or 3 women's matches on each show, whereas that was almost unheard of back in the past?
I think it is amazing. I think it really goes to show you, because I do know, even when we started, it was such a male-dominated industry. And, it was like boys' clubs. And I have to say that, I mean, all the props to the female wrestlers at the time who trailblazed and who went head-to-head with some of these wrestlers to make a path and to make what has happening today, to women in the wrestling industry possible. Somebody like Medusa. I mean, she is a force to be reckoned with, and she, I think any of I hope that these, the wrestlers, female wrestlers right now, I do hope that they know that they wouldn't be where they are without somebody like Medusa.
Very cool. She actually just was this past weekend a part of the NWA Empower show, which was an all-girls wrestling pay-per-view, and she helped put it on along with Mickie James and Jazz and a couple other of the long-time wrestlers. So that was very cool to see her out there.
Yes, and I say more the better, and I really do have to give props to the business that's really not holding back, and also too the talent existing, the male talent, to not feel threatened to share the spotlight with female talent.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Well, I mentioned it at the beginning of our conversation, and I'll mention it again now. Your email was kind of like the highlight of my week thus far, maybe aside from this conversation. But that was an email talking about your product line and what you're looking to release through Ring Along. You have a Kickstarter going for that. Did you want to tell me what is Ring Along?
Well, Ring Along, it came out of necessity. It's traveling, all over the world and country. As you know, women, we require a lot more items than guys. Like my husband can get ready for a trip in, his bathroom. It takes 5 minutes. Like for me, it's like a science project. What product goes with what and what I can't live without. And anyway, so I was always frustrated with lack of organizers, efficient organizers. And once I became a mom, throw infants and toddlers and into it, forget about it, because kids, as you know, they can die of starvation at a drop of a hat, and they can bleed to death from a little prick on their finger. So we're like a walking CVS, from the snack aisles to butt cream aisles to to like Band-Aids and all that kind of stuff. So I was always frustrated, and I tried every product or every organizer, and I always came back to just separate pouches. And then again, I'm still finding myself digging through my big tote bag with big open spaces, trying to find like one little pouch. And I realized, okay, how can I keep these together? So that's how I came up with the whole concept of Ring Along. And for a couple of years, I made my homemade. I hand sewed rings and spring rings onto those little makeup pouches. And I kept saying, okay, oh my gosh, this is so great. I know that other moms and other females, they would love it. And then I realized that I don't know anything about the industry. So, and what I decided was, and then my, daughter said, Mommy, why don't you make this for other people so you can help other people too? And then I realized, I'm like, you know what? I mean, my parents, we came here when I was 11. My parents came when they're in their mid-30s. They didn't speak any English. None of us spoke English. And they barely had just a handful of change in their pockets. And they worked their butts off. The grit and hard work that they put in through obtaining their American dream, it is so there. I mean, so I thought, okay, what am I showing my kid if I don't really go for this? That I really felt that I needed to continue my parents' legacy on by showing my daughter that, hey, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. So I took a leap of faith. But what I wanted to make sure was I needed to get a utility patent on my concept, because if anybody's in the bag business, if they saw my concept, they would have it in the stores before I could finish my morning coffee. So I looked into getting a utility patent and got a law firm, and I ended up getting the patent like this past February.
Oh, wow.
So this was like years in the making, maybe 7-8 years in the making. So, and then from there, and then a couple of years ago, I went on a Shark Tank audition here in Dallas, and I just marched there with my big girl pants on and with my homemade prototype and my patent pending thing. And the casting agent was so excited. She said, okay, what are your sales? I'm like, oh, I don't have any. These are my homemade prototypes. She said, okay, you need to raise some money or sell some, and you can do it on Kickstarter too. That counts. And after you get your patent, come see us. And of course, they didn't do any in-person auditions for 2 years in a row. And I knew that the submission deadline was end of June this year, and I got my patent in February. So I was really trying to rush to get a Kickstarter to show that, hey, look, I have my patent and I raised some money on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. But being a one-mom show where I taught myself how to do everything, even graphic design. I mean, one time it took me 4 hours, my first time on iMovie, to make a 19-second video. So, long story short, I unfortunately couldn't get everything ready to, have my Kickstarter campaign before the deadline. But I wasn't about to quit. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm still going to go for it. So that's why I ended up launching, this month or this past month in mid-August. So with Kickstarter, I don't know many people know about it, but you set a funding goal, and you are offering pre-order discounts, so that way so you're raising your money upfront to help with the initial production cost. And so far I am about 50% there, and I am like chewing my fingernails every day because I have until 25th of September, so I have about 22 days to reach the remainder 50%. Or if I don't reach my goal, then it doesn't get funded. So the supporters only get charged for what they pledged if the campaign reaches its funding goal. So, I'm just asking, just help me bring my product to life, help me bring my dream to life. It's been like my fourth child for about 7-8 years that I've been trying to bring to life. And, anything helps. No support is ever too small. I mean, you can even pledge $1. So I would take $1 from, 5,000 fans if they are still out there. So anyway, but again, it's just asking for support and just humbly asking for support. So
Awesome.
I hope I explained it correctly.
I think you did. I'm looking forward to seeing you reach that goal. Hopefully this will help. This interview and other interviews you do like this will help, spread the word about this, because it's a cool product. I like the pictures that you have on there. It looks interesting, and hopefully also your name and the fact that wrestling fans are as loyal as they are will also come in to be a help as well.
Well, but here's the thing. There's so many amazing talents that's come, so it's just I know I'm now a very, very blip in the sky. I understand it, but just I don't know. It's not even just supporting a Nitro girl, former Nitro girl, but just supporting. It takes a village, and just supporting someone within the community that.
I kind of like what you said earlier when
and
you said about the American dream. It really is helping
Yes.
somebody live the American dream.
It is, because this is a land of opportunity, and I wholeheartedly believe that, and I have such a gratitude for this country.
That's beautiful. Well, before I let you go, and of course we'll have links up on the website to promote that Kickstarter, as well as links to the Ring Along as well. But before we do let you go, what do you want to give everybody just an idea of who Chae is now? Here we are. We said 20 years later. Who is Chae Ann 20 years later?
20 years later, I am still the same person, but I am a lot wiser. I may not, things, certain parts of the body maybe a little bit more heading south than back then, but I am so comfortable in my skin right now. I love all the wisdom that I have gained through the years. And at one time Oprah said, I thought 40s were better than my 30s, and then I thought 50s were better than my 40s, and then so I think it's just, I'm so grateful of the journey that I've been on, and I continue to be on. I wear many, many hats, anything from mom hats to Uber hats to now entrepreneur hats, and I do have a big passion, and I hope that through Ring Along that I can also make a positive difference. And I do want to focus on a charity, and I do want to make a difference and give back of all the opportunities that I was fortunate enough to receive.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I invite everybody to check out your Kickstarter campaign. And again, we'll have a link to it on our website as part of this interview, as well as in the YouTube comments, because we'll post this on YouTube as well. Before I do let you go, do you mind if I ask for one final favor from you?
Sure. Go for it.
It might be a while since you've done one, but do you mind if I ask for a radio bumper just saying this is Chae and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter?
Okay, can you repeat that? I'm so sorry, because my son just came and waved at me, and I am doing one of those ugly mom face, like, go away.
Yeah, I've seen it from both ends of that. I've been the kid and I've been the dad.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This was like the most perfect and the worst timing at the same time.
I know. I appreciate you taking this much time. I didn't intend to go so long, but it was great. I really enjoyed it so far.
No, I have to.
All right. Wrestling Epicenter is the name of the show. I just want to say, is this Chae? Let me try that again. This is Chae. You can even say Nitro Girl Chae or whatever you'd like. And you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
This is Nitro Girl Chae, and you are listening to the one and only Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now